What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Lion's Den with Seth. So, yes, I am Seth, and my homie Herm, he's out today, right? Had to give him a day off on Father's Day, but somebody got to run this shit. You know what I'm saying? But it wouldn't be, a good day without being able to be, just being grateful to be alive, right? Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there, your baby fathers, right? And everyone that's holding it down, playing the role, and just stepping on up. So we do appreciate you. And for those of you, if this is your first time tuning in, we're focused here on the Lion's Den of all things leadership, growth, and development, with a call to action from the household out in the community. All right. So it's a holistic type of deal. But today is going to be an outstanding episode because we're taking a deep and meaningful look at the topic that doesn't get much attention, and that's men's mental health. All right. So if you don't know, if you've been under a rock, this month is Men's Mental Health Month. Okay. And with today being Father's Day, we're dedicating this special episode for all the fathers out there, the brothers, sons, friends who may be struggling in silence. Now, I do know that this conversation for some may be, a little uncomfortable. So that's why we're having this today. And to help us shed some light on this conversation and this important topic, I'm joined by an incredible guest, y'all. I met this brother a few weeks ago, but he's a therapist, y'all, in the St. Louis area, who's been working tirelessly to support mental health, men's mental health, and particularly in the Black community. So, ladies and gentlemen, y'all help me to introduce Mr. Josh Gilliam, y'all. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
What up, though, brother? How you feeling? How you feeling?
It's a good day. It's a good day. Just visited my dad today, so it's been a good day, man.
That's
It's
good.
been a good
That's
day.
good. That's a blessing, man. That's a blessing. So, man, look, let's get up into it, man. And of course, for those of you, like I said, that don't know, I've met this brother a couple of weeks ago, and we had a similar conversation based off of some other work facilitating with NAMI and Mental Health Month and everything that's in the St. Louis area. So that's when I met him. I'm like, man, this is an outstanding conversation. And so how do we continue this, but also do it in a different forum? So I want to thank you for, again, being on, bro.
Hey, man, thank you for the invite.
You know,
I love having conversations like these. These are super special to me. These are like really near and dear to my heart. So I thank
absolutely.
you.
No doubt, man. And again, thank you for taking this time out, man, because it's taking away time from your family and your father and everything like that. But this is important, so I do appreciate you taking this out. So, man, look, just introduce yourself, man. What made you want to get into the mental health space?
As he has introduced me, as Seth has introduced me, I'm Josh Gilliam. I am a licensed professional counselor. I serve also as an adult outpatient therapist at places for people in downtown St. Louis. And so what got me into this work, honestly, I have always felt the calling to be a therapist, right? Even when I was young in high school and things of that nature, I was always the person that, come talk about your problems. Let's I was always that lending ear for people, trying to, my friends and everything like that. Like I've always been the lending ear. I've always been the person that like, yo, all right, something wrong. Like, what's up? What's going on? Come talk to me. Even when I got my car felt like my office at one point. Let's talk about, let's talk in the back. Like, let's really just let's park somewhere. Let's I may not come up with the answers right away, or I may not have the answers, but I'm always been the listening ear. You know what I mean? And so, and also I recognize, from my mental health struggles, right, in the past, as a person who grew up with a lot of anxiety and grew up and being depressed and at one point wanted to take their own life. I have always wanted to be, how can I put it? I recognize that there was always a need within our community that has not been served yet, and I always wanted to be that need.
Man, I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
bro. No, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. So, speaking of that, man, as we go into it, why do you think that is such a stigma around men prioritizing their mental health, and what steps can we take within society, right, that can help break that down?
So when I think about men's mental health, when I think about the stigmas behind it, I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but when it comes to, I think it can go back to slavery, right? Men of, our ancestors and things of that nature were always told to get over it, right? Especially like when it come to masters taking our wives and taking the women in our family, it's always been get over it. That how master is, and if you don't get over it, then you're gonna seek the repercussions, right? The repercussions are coming to you. The other part of it is you think about the 10 acres and a mule, right? Did black people ever really get that 10 acres and a mule? No. You think about, I even go further into like I go into the civil rights movement, right? Black men, we had to do a lot of work, right? But the other side of that is we couldn't have a safe space to process because we had to keep moving, right? We kept having to hold the family up. Even when money wasn't a thing, right? We always had to make sure the family was good in some shape or form. And so I think part of it is history, right? The other part of it is that we are currently conditioning our boys to continue to move. Oh, you don't feel that, you ain't feeling that bad, whatever, keep moving on, right? And we're not creating the safe spaces for ourselves and for our black boys.
You see, so I love that, and you're absolutely right. I feel the same way, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast. And for those of you that's listening, please let us know where you're listening from. If you have any questions or any statements, comments, please feel free to add them, right? So we can have that conversation. But as you just said, you work with black men, young boys, and speaking to this, what type of challenges do you see that individuals that look like you face today?
I think the type of challenges that I see is typically based around it's first knowing that you need help, right? Or willing to admit that you need help. When I think about that, and also once you recognize you need help, willing to accept the help that you're given, right? Because one part of therapy is recognizing that, yes, I need to be here, but the other part of it is, am I going to allow somebody into the intimate parts of me that I don't allow people into? And I know that that's a hard space for us as black men to kind of allow people into, because we're not there. So
right.
How can I allow somebody into a space that I'm not in?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that is a barrier, at least.
Yeah, no, I can see that, man. And you know what? I believe that also there is this thing that says, like you said, we're supposed to be hard and we're supposed to just have this facade up. But then where do you go, right, to even connect with individuals authentically and being vulnerable to say, yo, I ain't got it, or look, I'm actually tired, or even if you feel as though, look, my emotions, I don't know what's going on right now, but give me this moment to kind of deal with that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's not, you really don't have that too much.
No, we don't, which is really a shame, because it's not like we don't have the community, it's just right. We're not taught to utilize it.
I agree. I agree. Wow. Hey, well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that's listening right now, especially you men out there, you brothers, think about what is around you, if that makes sense. How do you spend your time, and what's in your communities, and are you really taking advantage of doing that? Right? I really, really, and we challenge you to really look into that, see what's out there. And no, it's super dope. But now again, it's Father's Day, right? So being a father myself, and it's like, yo, this comes with all types of challenges and stressors. You dig what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it also comes from the opportunity. It comes with an opportunity to influence the next generation. So, how do you think father's emotional health impacts his ability to guide and connect with his children?
So I think a couple of things, right? I think because I was just having this conversation, right? I think for fathers, I mean, you all, I'm not, because I'm not a father yet,
Right,
but
right, right, right.
from a mental health perspective, I think fathers, y'all are the poster childs for your children's life, right? Um, and so they follow by your example. So for you, it's kind of like when how basketball and baseball and all that became introduced into to our communities. We were the poster, black men were the poster childs for our black youth, right? And I kind of think of that as the same way, right? um your children will enjoy mental how can I put it, healthy mental health. How can I put that, healthy mentally healthy men, right?
There you
If we
go.
show
Right.
them the way. I
Hmm.
had to get that out.
No,
I
I
had to
get
get
it.
that out.
Hmm.
But we have to be the example in showing them the way, right? Like if your child is watching you regulate your emotions from frustrating situations, then they will do the same, right? Um, if your child is watching you at the end of the night, making sure that you're doing, how can I put it? You're doing, if you're meditating, and I don't know what, I'm only gonna speak for the Christian faith because that's the only one I know. So, like meditating and prayer, right? Like if you do that type of stuff, because there is a mental health aspect to that, right? If they see you doing that type of stuff, if they see you being able to communicate well with people you're speaking to, then they can follow suit, right? It's all about the example that we're leaving as men, right? Um, and that's what we have to focus on. We have to make it. We have to show our children specifically how healthy mentally we are, and
Mm.
that's how we make it attractive for everybody else.
See, I like that. I like that. And still speaking about that, man, for the fathers that's listening right now, what advice would you give them to help them to prioritize their own mental health while still being there for their fathers, right? Because the reason why I said that is, man, it's a thankless job, if you will. And sometimes it's like you're being pulled left and right. But how do you take that time to, or how would you suggest a father would take the time and prioritize that time to refill his cup?
So, um, I think the first thing for fathers, what you should be doing is making sure is kind of making sure planning out your weeks, right? Because you're not going to have all this availability, right? Like we got to be honest about that. You're not going to have all this availability, but making sure that within your schedule, right? I'm scheduling me going to therapy, right? I'm scheduling me going to the gym. I'm scheduling me doing some recreational things, and I'm scheduling me eating good too, right? Like is because I know, because fatherhood is a very it's a weight. It's a certain weight. It's a lot of responsibility. We're not gonna sit here and act like that. That's not real.
Right.
But on the back end, though, you can't have these positive and super influential relationships with your kids if you're not taking care of yourself first, right? Or making sure that you take care of yourself in there. Um. So yeah, dads, plan out your weeks. And if, at best, whenever you got pause time, if it's 6 a.m., right? Or if it's 4 a.m. and you're going to be up, go to the gym, come right back, right? You know what I mean? Like do stuff in which you're not inconveniencing any part of your schedule if you can, right? That's my best advice is get in a way, get in where you can fit in, right?
Yeah. And you know what, I'm glad that you said that. And you know, it's easier to say. You get what I'm saying? It's easier said than done, but I can understand if a father is risk adverse, or even of someone that's a stepfather risk adverse and taking that time out because of the backlash. You get what I mean? Or you know, putting yourself first and really taking care of yourself so you can take care of the family. Why you always got to do this? Why you always got to do that? Like, how would you help them to communicate how important their mental health is to their significant others?
Okay, so I think that the conversation, the communication has to be ongoing, right? In any relationship, you have to continue talking, right? You have to continue having these hard conversations, and specifically speak, and because it's going to take, and so when we're talking about partnerships, it's going to specifically take a level of vulnerability, right? Of saying, hey, listen, I'm a better man, I'm a better father when I have gone skating, right? I'm a better father when I go to the gym in the morning, right? I'm a better father when I go to my therapy on Saturday mornings, right? I'm a better human being then, right? Because it is a balance, and I don't want to be out of balance, right? I want to make sure that our child is getting the best version of me, because they only get one of me. Unfortunately, right? They only get one of me.
Right. No, I like that. Damn, you know what? That's dope. That makes a lot of sense. That's some good no, that's a good script, man. That's a good script. And so have you had to have that conversation with one of your clients before? Like, say, hey, you know, you might have to, you know, say certain things to make sure everybody's on the same page, you know, and this is how you do it. Have you had to do that before? Uh-oh. You still there, bro?
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm still here. Go. I'm good.
Yeah. I think it was a little lag there. But what I was saying was, have you ever had to find yourself to communicate what you just said to maybe one of your clients, or even clients that feel kind of guilty for utilizing time to prioritize their mental health?
Yeah, I mean that's something you have to talk out. Yeah, no, because I've had a conversation with one of my clients specifically about that. Just because he recognized at one point they didn't have the time, they had a newborn, so like it was kind of like I was like, but bro, how are you though, right? Like I recognize that you got all this stuff going on, but you can't support, and you can't support your wife, or you can't support your significant other if you are not good. I promise you. In marriage counseling, we talk about it all the time. You have to be constantly growing, right? You have to be constantly staying as healthy as possible if you want to have the best outcome for your relationships. And so I told him something like that, right? But the guilt piece is the guilt piece is that you feel guilty now, but it's going to pay off in the long run.
No, I believe that. Thank you for sharing that, man. So, look, man, as a Black therapist, and I'm emphasizing, ladies and gentlemen, the word Black. Obviously, you can see, but if you're listening to this later on, you don't know, right? But it's necessary, right? It is necessary to emphasize, and also that brings me to this question. So, your work carries a lot of powerful messages, you get what I mean, of a representation and inclusion as well. But can you speak about why having more Black therapists is so critical, right? For critical for Black men to seek help. You get what I mean? So why would you say it's important?
Yeah. Well, and I put it this way, because a lot of us, we want people that are like us in these spaces, right? Because there's I put it this way, like if somebody, how can I put it? It's kind of like what I mentioned earlier, right? When it comes to sports and things of that nature, right? In the 80s, right? You think about when it was more like more white than black people, right? Like, you know, a couple of people that stood out was Magic Johnson, right? You know, and the same thing with Michael Jordan, right? People, we watched them and we got inspired by them, right? And because we could relate as a black person, trying to we wanted to be like them, right? And I think about it this way, right? As a black male, in, you know, in psychology, in counseling and all this other stuff, when people come to therapy, they recognize that these therapists have been trained, and they've been trained in coming up with healthy coping mechanisms, healthy strategies, and things of that nature. And people want those solutions, right? And if anything, they just want a safe space to come to, so they know where to come to, right? You're not going to go to any place. You're going to be hard pressed to go to a place with people that don't look like you, or you're going to be hard pressed to be interested in spaces that don't have anybody that looks like you. So I think for us, the reason why it's important for us is because not only do we recognize there's a need, right? Black people are coming now, right? This is the thing. Black people are coming to therapy. People want to come. Mm-hmm. Therapy could be more. It could be more. It can be better understood when there's people who speak like you, right? Yeah. Who you identify with, right? Who may use the same colloquialisms as you, right? Mm-hmm. We match up culturally, so yeah, right. It definitely makes more sense. Like, if I can make it more palatable for us, then yeah, right. Like that's what the culture piece comes into. So I guess, does that answer the question?
No, it does. So now the other side of it is, why do you think, you know, it's taking so, well, I wouldn't say take so long, but what do you think the risk adverse is for individuals that have access, right? For specifically themselves, but they like don't want to? Do you think that it's like, yo, shoot, I just might not want to see it, right? I may not want to see the truth. You get me? Or I may not want to have that conversation. Like, why do you think individuals avoid going to therapy?
You know, and I hate to put it this way, in the most simplest version, it is, sometimes your reflection is scary, right? Yeah. Reflection, because when you think about it, I didn't notice that blemish I have on my face, right? Like, what is that? Oh, is that really? I thought I was right the whole time. Oh, I guess I'm wrong now. Oh. Oh wait, maybe I should have handled that relationship a lot differently. Maybe I should have had more patience, right? There is a level of, there can be a level of guilt and a level of embarrassment about the fact that maybe I wasn't taught the right things, and maybe I've been living off the things that I've been taught that were wrong. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I can get that.
And so, so what am I supposed to do with that information? Like, now I'm embarrassed, and now I'm looking like, oh man, well, maybe I need to go apologize to that person. Maybe I need to like rethink, like, this whole time in life, like, wow, I've been doing it wrong.
All right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so. and that can be embarrassing. There's a lot of shame going on in there, right? And then it may uncover some things that you may been lying to yourself about. Like, so, like, think about it. If you've been hearing something for so long, and you know, you're going to school, you're understanding critical thinking. So that means now you can put this plus this. Oh, that doesn't equal to what I was told when I was this age, right? So now it's like, do I really want to open up that can of worms to know that Wizard of Oz is really a little dude back there? That's, you get what I mean? Now, so not first of all, man, look, and I'm glad you said that, but so how long have you been in therapy, and what is or was or currently, you know, whatever, the most challenging part of being a therapist? because I mean you're younger, right? But I see you as a mentor. You get what I'm saying because of my path. But it's like, what type of challenges do you go through in this line of work?
So, as a Black male therapist, right? The more you get into this field, the more of the demand, right? And before I get there, I'm gonna go on my regular job, right? It is difficult keeping up a caseload. And I don't want to say keeping up a caseload. You have to do a lot of self work, right? When you're working with 20 plus people a week, and you're talking about issues, you're talking about things, you're working through coping strategies and things of that nature. When you're constantly pouring, you have to make sure that you are constantly pouring back into yourself, right? Constantly taking care of yourself. I think that's the one thing. And the second thing is getting and within that, getting the rest that you need. Right. Going to sleep, right? Really going to sleep, laying down, not having your laptop open, right? Doing things that you love. That type of stuff is always going to be the most important thing. And so within that, when it comes to community work, when you become and you have more exposure, is that you are simultaneously keeping your life balanced while accepting things at the same time and not being scared to say no, right? Because there is such a great need for mental health, men in these spaces, right? We talk about psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, social workers. There's such a great need, and recognizing that you can't be the one to feel the need by yourself, right? So if you have to turn down stuff to take care of yourself, do that. But it is all about taking care of yourself and not overworking as much as you can, right? Keeping the balance.
Wow, man, I can only imagine. Because it's like you never know where you're going to be pulled. You never know what's going to come into your inbox as far as a new client, and so you got to make sure you got that space, that mental head space for yourself to actually
absolutely
deal with it, man. So has there ever been a time when someone's I would say their issue or where they needed help was so far outside of your realm, man, that it kind of contradicted how you actually approach life and would be willing to help this person, but you kind of had to take a step back and refer them to someone else?
I typically I work hard to not refer people unless they're out of my scope, and at that point I will refer, right? Just because I want to be fair and things of that nature. But I think it is one of those situations where if it's out of your scope, or if it can be, which I guess, yes, I've had those situations where it's out of my scope, and also where it can be conflicting, then yeah, have had to refer out. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's for the best of the client, but you always give them references. You never leave them cold. So
no, I get that. So man, look, one of the biggest steps, man, towards change is just creating that space for us fellas. You get what I mean? To feel safe and to talk openly. So what are some ways that we can encourage that? All right. And encourage that honest conversation about mental health among men and within families.
So that's a tough question. So I think one of the things that's going to be important is that men's voices matter, right? Like, and I think that that's going to be one of those things that we just have to be okay with, right? It may be different from, or it may be contradictory towards your thoughts, right? And things of that nature, but recognizing that people are people, right? So people need the space just to be heard, if anything else, right? I think it's Freud that mentioned about like talk therapy, right? People have a lot to say about talk therapy. People don't. People always say, "Oh, talk therapy doesn't work," and things of that nature. But sometimes, especially for us, we don't have the spaces to even talk to anybody.
To even talk.
Right. So, and I wanted to, and that's the reason why I say, like, therapy is a space where you can at least do that for an hour a day and nobody's going to judge you, right? Because there is a special thing I feel like about talk therapy, right? It helps organize your thoughts, right? You're getting the validation you need. Nobody has to be specifically against you in the moment. And not saying that people won't correct you if you're just way off base or anything like that. But a lot of times, there has to be, you need the space because mama didn't give you the space, daddy didn't give you the space.
Yeah.
You don't got space in your house.
Bro. Bro, right. Yeah. No, yeah, that's real.
And so take the space up, take the space, come take the space, right? And I know that's uncomfortable, but the reality is that therapy is a space for you specifically. Nobody's going to interrupt. Nobody's going to make it about them. And if they do make it about them, if the therapist makes it about them instead of you, then you might have to choose another therapist, and that's okay too.
Yes. And speaking about that, man, we had this conversation the first time we met, but if you don't mind going into how important it is to seek out the right therapist for you, right? The way that you communicated is like dating, if you will, finding out someone that matches you. So can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's okay to ask your therapist certain questions about treatments and things of that nature, because I'm going to say this, and one of my mentors told me this. My provisional supervisors told me this. She was like, "Listen, I'm not everybody's black therapist, right?" And I'm going to say the same thing. I am not everybody's black man's mental health therapist. That is not me. I'm not for everybody, and that's cool. You might not like my style, you might not like how I speak, or you may not like how I dress and things of that nature. That's okay. That's okay. And you can go, you must, if you are seeking in this field, go find what works for you, right? Ask the questions. How long have you been in practice? How long have you what are some specific areas of stuff you work in? Like, do you work with people who got bipolar? Do you work with people who struggle with emotion regulation? Give me more information about that, right? Like, ask about their style. Are they very clear and concise? Do they talk with a lot of fluff? Do they, do we have like short-term solution focused people? And discuss that in your needs, because hey, listen, at the end of the day, you're the driver of the boat, right?
That's
like
right.
The therapist is just here helping you along, right? So yeah, please be intentional about your therapist when you pick one. On Psychology Today, they give you a brief breakdown. Like, you can ask for black therapists, you can ask for therapists that focus on trauma, and therapists that focus on whatever treatment you want to work on, right? But please ask questions of your therapist, right? If you don't like young therapists, by all means, do what you have to do, because at the end of the day, this is your treatment.
You're right. Right. Now, what about those individuals that are in therapy, but they're like outgrowing them? You get what I mean? Like, what do you say about that? Is that common or uncommon, right? As far as people that outgrow their therapists.
I think it's more common than what we like to admit. Because and the reason why is because of the everybody gets comfortable, right? And I recognize in your comfortability, you're like, okay, well, I know this person. I've been super comfortable with this person. I've been very vulnerable to them and things of that nature, and I don't want to switch it up. But the reality is that it's okay to, because I think about it from we're building stairs for people, right?
That's right.
I may be good for you for a year. After a while, we may have stagnated just because of that's how life goes, right? Upon your growing may not fit you. Upon your growing may not be a part of my style anymore, or things of that nature. And so that's okay, right? But we're building stairs, right, to the life you want to live. And if I got to get off at step 5,
Right.
all means.
That's right. Right. But then just encourage them, keep on going. You can do
Keep
it
on
with
going.
or without me. Right. No.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, man. Well, look, here's a good question here. So, how do you handle conflict between what the client expects to receive from therapy and what can reasonably be offered? Because if you think about it, man, sometimes people got this thought process about
Mm-hmm.
what they expect to get out of this thing, but yo, it's so many other things that's on that, or better yet, not even on that, underneath that. So you get what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
how do you deal with that? How do you handle that?
So I think this is when you have to have a real conversation, right?
Mm,
And being okay with your capabilities versus what they're asking, right?
yes,
Um, I'm a therapist. Can I help find housing all the time? Or can I get you into housing programs? No, that's not,
bro.
I can't do that, right?
Right.
That's above that's out of my scope, right? Just
Yes.
because I don't have access to those resources.
Hmm.
Um, can I outdo your will when it comes to decision making? I can't outdo your will. I can't convince you um to do the things that we talk about in therapy, right? I can't make you do that, right? And so it is recognizing that how can I put it? It is recognizing that your will is still your will and my therapy practice is still my therapy practice, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And there has to be, and if the two things don't meet, that's okay. But we just have to be realistic about it.
See. See, no, that makes sense. That really makes sense, man. I appreciate that. Now, we talked before about therapists and like women may gravitate more towards a male therapist. Me myself gravitate towards a female therapist because of I don't know what it is. You get what I'm saying? Now, I've had both, but it's like the growth. I feel as though it's different. Can you communicate as to why that might be for those individuals that are looking or that may be risk adverse to even getting a therapist of like a different gender?
Yeah. So, and I'll briefly talk about this because I have a female therapist also. So,
Okay.
so I will say this, right? It depends on the level of comfortability and it depends on the level of trauma or the level of trust that you have with the opposite sex or the same sex, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, I have a lot of trauma with my father, right? So me trusting men isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, right?
Mm.
What's easier for me is to talk to a black woman because I talked to black women my whole life, right? Um, one of my dearest friends is a black woman, so that's my level of comfortability. Hence the reason why I can float that way.
That's right.
Um, and sometimes those relationships can be very healing, right? Because again, because of my trauma with men, right? With black men, I can't hear them the same way I can hear from a black woman,
Mm.
right? And so therefore, I'm gonna go see the black woman.
Right,
you know,
right.
you know. And so, also with therapy, when it comes to the healing in these spaces, me working with a black woman and getting all that healing from a black woman, I can heal probably my relationships with black men because I'm healing, right? I'm healing and I'm getting these ways and tools to learn how to heal from, trauma from my dad and whoever, right? I'm learning how to heal from those situations, which in turn can bring me back the other way.
Man, I love that, bro. Hopefully that made some sense, man, to individuals that's listening right now. Y'all, look, it's okay. You get what I'm saying? It's okay to get that help. It's okay to get that support. It's okay to do that. Well, look, brother, I got one last little piece of thing that I want to say, man. I appreciate you for really being on and taking the time, man. It's like, yo, this is wild. So, man, this conversation was, man, what just incredible. And I
Yeah.
can't thank you enough, man, for sharing your expertise, all right, and your insight with us today. So, but before we wrap on up, is there any final message that you'd like to share with all the fathers out there for Father's Day?
Hey man, y'all are important. We are pillars. Y'all are pillars in society. Don't let nobody tell y'all nothing different. Y'all are better people when y'all take care of yourself. When you are, you're gonna sacrifice because that's what we do. That's what men do. But also make sure you get poured back into as much as possible. Make sure you're pouring back into yourself as much as possible.
Well said, bro. Well said.
Yeah.
Damn right. Yo, y'all give it up for Josh up in the building. So, man, listen, I appreciate you, dog. Look, thank you again for joining us. And thank you to our listeners, y'all. All right, for tuning in for this special Father's Day episode here on the Lions Den with Seth. So, again, happy Father's Day to everybody out there that's getting it in. But make sure you remember to prioritize, all right? Your mental health is not only courageous, but it's necessary. Can you dig it? You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be supported and well. So until next time, take care of yourself. You dig what I'm saying? And each other. Right on. Later.